In the world of forensic science, sometimes we consult experts. And boy, do I have an expert for you today. Lauren Siefer. It's an old friend. She used to work at Fremantle, and in 2011, I was hired to program a pressure luck kiosk. Both of us worked on that project together. We stayed in touch throughout the years, and Lauren became the first and only director of fulfillment at The Price is Right. Now, as a fan, it's pretty cool to see somebody you know flash by in the credits. But if you're a fan of The Price is Right, in any capacity, and who isn't, then you are going to enjoy this conversation. It's a great chat, and it spans over the course of 2 days, which is why our appearances change in the middle. But first, I thought I would try something new. Something I've never done, and something I presume nobody's done. I went through a phase when Pepperidge Farm decided to sell Old Bay seasoned goldfish. Genius! Incredible. And then they just snatched it back. Snatched. To the jaws of the distribution centers, never to be seen again. I've not seen it since. It's been about a year. We actually have a goldfish aisle with 800 varieties of goldfish, but no more Old Bay seasoned goldfish. But yet I was hooked. So I had no choice but to buy the Maryland staple Old Bay seasoning. And it occurred to me, perhaps I should rim a glass with it. And so I did. And in that glass, I put 2 ice bowls in and added my favorite tequila, La Pulga Reposado, bottled here in Fort Worth, Texas, made from the highlands of Jalisco's finest tequila. It's quite good. Don't believe this would offend too many people, but I have no idea how this is going to go. However, forensic scientists are known for experimentation. To The Price is Right, celebrating their 10,000th episode, and to Lauren, my good friend, one of the nicest people I've ever had the pleasure of working with. I love it. It's fucking great. Lauren Siefer is my guest, the only director of fulfillment in the history of The Price is Right. She has a lot of fun stuff to say. You will enjoy this interview. Here we go. So I first met you in 2011.
Yes.
We were working on the Pressure Luck project together with Chris Donnan and Andy Felsher.
Oh, yes.
Feel free to say, and I'm not going to pull anything weird out of you if you don't want to talk crap about people, or if you do, I'm happy to join you and talk about my stories because they're all funny.
And we have years of therapy between it.
That's right.
You know?
That's right. Well, and so particularly about your time at Price is Right, and then this really is a legitimate reason why I didn't want to just pepper you with hey, Lauren, I'm going, because I didn't know how how unfavorable things were. I know that when you left there, it was toxic and it wasn't a great experience at the end. So I didn't want to bring all that back by talking about Price is Right shit with you all the time. But
yeah, it was it was a big part of my life. You know, it was my career.
Yeah, and you had a good time there.
I loved my job.
Yeah,
and I made my job.
Right.
You know, it's and I kind of do that anywhere I'm at, in that I'm a brat and I'm I'm going to do what I want and I'm going to do this. But I can also see where I could be the most effective. And so when I took over Price Fulfillment, after what, 43 years of it like being a CBS department.
Oh.
And then Fremantle took, the prize department. So we had the opportunity to like, start from scratch, really.
What caused that position to be created? Was there some kind of event or some kind of mismanagement that they thought was like, the network is really like kind of not so involved in this?
In my understanding, it was that it just like editorially didn't make sense for CBS to be like the one in charge of like what the prizes were, and then the show to have that as something to pick from.
Right.
And they just wanted the inverse of like, we want the show to be this, now find that.
Therefore, did that force the Price is Right to take on the budget that they didn't normally control?
In that time, it was kind of a shared budget of like, this many $1 million for this season.
Yeah.
And then it was like, stay within that. And so then me, like challenge accepted, would do my best to get as much promoted as we could, a discount as I could, while honoring the MSRP that they won. That was fun for me because I love creative problem solving, and I love to be able to say yes when the lazy answer is no.
Yeah.
Right. Like they used to just cash out contestants in Canada, and it was like, for promoted prizes. It was like that, where it was like, well, that's a loss. And so I would find that I could buy, not promoted cars, but when I could buy a car in Canada, I was essentially getting like a 30% discount because of the exchange rate. And it favorably worked out with their taxes and what they needed, because as you know, Canadians don't pay income tax on game show winnings.
Right.
And so it was this
Bumps.
like, I know, I was like, one more reason. But yeah, it was so fun to be able to have like a win-win-win, because we saved money, they got what they wanted, and, you got to connect the dots and,
right.
Make it work. But yeah, I'm not sure like how or why Fremantle got the prize department. I think it was just kind of the restructuring that CBS Entertainment was doing of like, let's just put these, over here, I guess. But
and did when you heard this position was becoming a thing, did you jump at the chance and volunteer yourself, or did they handpick you to be this person?
So I was at Fremantle from like 2010 to mid 2014, and I was on the road all the time. Lived. My 30th birthday was like on the tour bus.
This is all Price is Right live stuff, right?
Yeah, which was so. I mean, we're like, what an experience! Like, outstanding, so fun. Looking back,
did the audience sing to you in like Dubuque or wherever you were?
No, but the tour bus did it.
Okay.
Very sweet.
That's good.
But I wanted to, it was like I just wanted to be in LA. I was like, I love living here, and I'm never here, and I miss my friends, and we've been married for 4 years, and I eventually was like, I think we're ready to have kids, and I can't do that on the road. So I saw there was a prize producer spot open at CBS, and I'm like, well, that would be ideal. Something I already kind of know, and then I can go home every night. Like, yay. And so it worked out. But the funny thing was, then what, like 8 months later, we all got laid off and then had to reapply for our jobs as production employees, with, minimal benefits, and, you get laid off instead of just like, being able to work.
So this layoff, do you remember what year that happened?
Yeah, 2015.
And so what happened what prompted that layoff series?
The restructuring of all the department. So they shed the whole prize department. Yeah, we were all in like the boardroom at CBS TV City, and they call us in and they're like, so we're restructuring the way we're doing things. May 8th will be your last day. It was very like, what's going on? Something's weird kind of thing. But it was like, oh, wow. And they said, tomorrow you'll have an opportunity to meet with the producers to interview for your position.
Wow.
Like for your actual job. And it was, jarring because, you're now thrown into mystery. Like a sure thing now went to like even less security than I had before.
Yeah. Wow.
It's terrifying. But what I was hired to do was like audience giveaways and prize trade out, stuff like that, promotional placement. But because I had done so much of the actual like physical production for price and in prizes, I could kind of have a bird's eye view of like, oh, well, have you guys thought of doing this kind of thing? Right. And the dude that was in charge of fulfillment at the time, wasn't his thing.
That was a CBS guy.
Yeah.
At the time.
And it just worked out that I, connected with Eric Mills, who was, prize producer, of like, here's the way that you could structure this. Here's how this could really be streamlined. Right. Here's what's worked in the past for me. And so then I got all of the water and wheels, they say, like the cars and boats and, hot tubs, they said, because water, which was hilarious. So yeah, we loved working that in.
Right.
But
right.
I did that, and then it was like, well, I also, I could also just do fulfillment too. And so I just kind of kept like collecting, and then chose this, hilarious title of director of
you picked the title.
I did. I always pick my title.
Oh,
I love
that's great.
I do that a lot. I found out.
It's funny. Every time, I think it was on Thursday or once a week, they would always have the extended credits. Yeah. And so I'd always sit there with the camera and go, and I tell my kids like, that's my friend. And then I have to, but it flashed by real quick, and so I have to take a video and then rewind. And I was just showing some super nerds, some Price is Right super dorks that I've aligned myself with. I'll get to that. And they're all curious about, well, who is this person And it's Lauren. I mean, and these people are the kind of people that like, they know, I mean, it's next level dork nerdery. And I say that with love because, they're kind of proud of it.
We love them.
Yeah. And I mean, now don't get me wrong. There are some mega dorks that are like, frothing at the mouth, like violent, like psychopath ones. But no, these are the good people. But anyway, so I saw that it was director of fulfillment, and I was like, that is a cool title.
I liked it. I was like, it still has like a corporate out.
Oh, right.
Knowing that this is not forever.
Well, so the person that took over your job, that is their title now, right? Like you, right?
No.
Did they get rid of that title?
Yeah.
So you're the only director of fulfillment ever.
Yeah, probably.
Right.
Yeah. I like that. That's fun.
Like it ended with you. You are the reigning one.
Yeah, I guess, man.
You're the only one.
Ever.
No, I mean that's got to be on your gravestone, right?
Well, it would be great if I could get my IMDb to like match what my actual like contribution was. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I made up my title like a dork. I've had to like manually do things. But I mean, there's 190 episodes a season, and I was there for 5 seasons, and like and because of my executive dysfunction, I will start this and go, I do not have time to do this, and abandon all hope. And so it just sits there as an unread email of like, and I'm actually pretty good about my inbox because I had to work for Andy Felcher and 1,000 other executives that needed everything perfectly, on time.
Yes.
But that IMDb thing will foil me for life. And
but you're on there.
They will hire someone to do it for me. Like that, please help me.
But you are on there. I
am, but it's only saying I've done like 20 episodes.
Right. I'm on there too, but I'm Robert McKee, Roman numeral 7.
Oh.
So you must be a 1, I imagine, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
It reminds you right next to your name every time, so there's no escaping it.
Well, and the bummer is I was, Lauren Olson until I was married, and I already had some credits just for like, 48-hour film festival stuff.
Oh, like right. Well, but you were Siefer when you were at Price the entire time, right?
Yes. Yeah. I started in April of 2010 and cut in October. So
because Lauren Olson on that show could go a long way if you know what I mean. Now I don't know how much you want to talk about like your end time at Price is Right or why you left or how toxic it was or whatever. But I mean I don't know. Have you ever like talked about that freely, like it just in a conversational or online way, or is that like just have you signed lots of stuff that said that you just won't, or Did you just want to put it behind you?
Yeah, no, it was wild. I've grown a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's been 5 years since I left.
Oh,
It's
all
like
right, fine.
5 years is when COVID.
Right.
Oh, I was just really burned out, and I
Yeah.
had a 3-year-old at the time, and my reality was like, I would drop him off at preschool and then work all day, and then at one point, at his daycare that I got like specifically to be right by CBS, like everything was built around work. My whole everything would like I timed my pregnancy so hiatus would line
Wow.
up like a fucking producer.
Hey.
The doctor was like, "Don't try to produce this pregnancy," and I won't, and then I did. But
When you had the baby, did credits roll
it did. It was immediately just on the screen. It was great. Yeah, no, it was hard. It would be like you know, we'd wait till like the showcase or like the second wheel would come on, and then I'd drive really quick over to Oksana's and bring him back. And my, best friend Megan, who was doing play along, would watch him while I went to, check out and did all the, sign out, gave my spiel and did, tell them what they want and explain taxes and, I mean, honestly, the best part of my day. It was my favorite. It was my favorite. Hearing you're meeting people on like the best day of their lives, right? Like,
yeah.
Oh,
Well, people wait like decades to do this one thing that takes 10 seconds.
And you'd meet people that it was their, their second time and they're 90 years old. And they were there and they said, "I'll see you in 10 years." And we're like, "You better." And they are back. And they're like, that happened all the time. Like those moments happened all the time. And to the point where it was just like, it just was so, it's everything that you want it to be. It's true. You know what I mean? These people do fly a red eye from Atlanta to go stand in line and then do all the things and then maybe get on. And at the end of the day, they're like, "Yep, I said I was going to get up this morning. I was going to win the one bid. I was going to get the wheel and I was going to win the showcase. And I did it. And I fly at home tonight from LA at 9 p.m. And
And I watch every day since I was in
every day,
first grade. Skipped school.
It was wild, and you're just So anyway, it had just kind of caught up with me of like the constant not feeling like you're in the right place,
Right.
because when I'd be home, I'd still be trying to catch up on work, and then I'd feel guilty that I wasn't spending time with my family, and I didn't know how, until everything came to a screeching halt, just how insane it was.
Did something in particular happen, or was it?
Honestly,
and again, don't feel like you need to answer any of these if it's personal.
No, to be honest, when Drew's fiance Amy was murdered, it was really, really heavy, and it was already very stressful. I had taken over the like trying to figure out the prize budget with the software, and I had also taken over Showcase Writing Group, and I'd also taken over all the interns, and it's just like all of these things.
Right.
But you take them on because you need to afford to pay $2,000 a month for daycare. So it's like it's this never-ending, thing.
Yeah.
But it was just all so much, and I just felt like there just wasn't a ton of compassion about what had happened and how fast they wanted to move forward. And then at the end of it, I was going to somehow pull a fire sale out of all, which was another part of my job I loved so much, which was to be able to the prizes that we had purchased, be able to, put them on 70% off to our employees and then donate the rest of it.
Oh.
It was so much fun.
The best thing.
But if you go 9 weeks in a row without a tape break, you can't do those things.
Yeah.
And it was just like, there was my stress level. It was just too much. And I was like, I don't see this getting better.
Yeah.
I don't see this getting easier, and I'm gonna burn out.
Do you miss it at all?
I miss television. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my favorite. But I have a 3-year-old now,
Right.
in addition to my 8-year-old. And
Yeah. And they're very cute, by the way. I've seen your videos. They're all very adorable.
But I'm having a very different experience this time,
Yeah.
I work for a nonprofit called Harvest Pack, and I work 30 hours a week, remote. I go into the office in St. Paul on Tuesdays,
Oh.
meet
That's
with the
cool.
team.
Do you feel like Mary Tyler Moore when you go into the city? And
I throw my hat in the air. Okay. There's a statue.
Of course, yeah, I've seen it. It's a TV lamp put up there. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
No, I miss my friends. I mean, they truly were my family.
Are you still in touch with a lot of people from The Price is Right?
Oh, yeah. And it's, you spend 12 hours a day with people, for months.
When people
Yeah.
hear that you worked on The Price is Right, where you live now, is that just, do people do double takes? Because that's just like a really unique thing.
Yeah. It's like, I was in a culture shock, and we moved during COVID. It was just like, it was very,
Oh, right.
it was bonkers.
Okay, what is a prize that just couldn't make work? Couldn't find, too expensive, too dangerous?
I mean, we really did take safety super seriously because, obviously. And so if things like, the hoverboards became a little dicey.
Exploding batteries.
Hey, let's pull back from that for a minute. Yeah, exactly. I guess, gosh, I'm trying to think of any white whales that I was really, really trying to get and couldn't, but it was like everybody was always like, could we do a house? Could we do an actual thing? Could we do that?
It's been done.
And it has, yeah. I really loved just the could we do, that feature of it?
Well, and who's the person that would always say no, yes or no to that? Just Chris, or some, the producer?
I mean, so it starts with the showcase, your showcases are, and then you build out what games you're going to play, and then you build out the prizes from there. And so as it kind of filters down, then you've got your parameters, of what you want.
All right.
And you've got your brand approval list, this is just when I was there, but of here's who CBS and Fremantle have agreed that these are okay to have on air and to reach out to, and that kind of, and then you're just trying to stay within the budget of what you're given.
Now, you were there during Roger Dobkowitz's days?
No, I was season 42 through 49.
So who was the producer during that time?
Oh, Mike Richards
Mike Richards, okay.
Yeah, yep, and Adam Sandler. Yeah.
Oh, right, okay. Were they ever worried about the fact that not giving name brands on stuff like TVs made them impossible for contestants to price properly? My own personal beef is when they have a computer or a phone, but they don't say what it is. The range really could be anything.
Yeah, I guess, it was one of those, you have to, these are the specs that we're gonna say every time. These are the standards that, we need to know, is it this kind of chip? Is it this much, RAM, or what? All the things that are, in that. And that was, how it was determined. That's how we could price it, relatively, to other ones like that, I guess. And, and it's always whatever the MSRP was, not the sale price.
Right.
So,
but did a contestant ever ask, can I come up on stage and inspect the item, just to someone who's oh, really?
Yeah.
And would they let them do that?
Yeah, for sure.
Touch it?
They couldn't see it enough, we'd, totally. Because you want them to win. Generally,
sure.
One bit's promoted, it's great.
Yeah.
Win. Somebody's gonna win, so we might as well.
That's right. When you were kind enough to walk us through in 2018, you introduced us to a guy that you said was he was the trip guy, and he always picked he handpicked all the Maldives and Seychelles and all that. Do you remember who that was?
Eric Mills, yeah.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah, no, he's a Mitch. Great guy.
Nice.
He's very smart.
He's still there?
No,
Oh.
he is like technology consultant.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
his legacy might be that all these trips are so exotic now, and they didn't used to be. And I remember asking you oh, they have trips to like Thailand now and Maldives.
You can thank Lisa Cho for that.
Oh,
She's
okay.
been doing that since like
Yeah.
2016.
That's what
and
makes it cool.
is the best travel
Uh,
producer in the world.
I remember when you took us on that tour. I just remember how bewildered I was, how labyrinthian, and how
Oh my
just
gosh.
it was insane. Like the storage area, and it was like the
70 games
Yeah.
all next to each other in the dark.
right, all arranged by like a hoarder, and
Poorly
so
lit.
yeah.
Yeah. Right? And then like in a certain order because they've got to be in the tape order of
Oh,
what
all right.
like,
Oh, so they wheel them out in order. Yeah.
well, you don't want to bury Plinko when you got to
Right.
use it tomorrow.
That's
so.
right. So when you took us on our little walkthrough, one thing that stuck out, it just struck me, was that you had all these range game strips, right? Like,
Yeah.
and they were all leaning against a chain link fence, maybe like 7 or 8 of them, and
Yeah.
that blew my mind. Like they don't reuse, the numbers are not magnetic, or they actually make a whole new 7-foot long lucite strip every time they need a new range, because they were moving, and Haven is a lot smaller, so they didn't have room for all the stuff, so they were just chunking stuff into the dumpster. But it also, I'm like, how do you not recognize though that these are kind of iconic, not just to like a super dork, but like, I mean, if anyone ever watched Price is Right, just ever, they're gonna recognize some of these things. And the range game strips,
Yeah.
I mean, those are the only ones ever of those, and
Sure.
there's definitely somebody who would want to buy them or just have them.
Yeah. But when you're around that all the
Yeah.
time,
You get
it
desensitized.
doesn't have any value to you because
Right.
it's like it's right there. The thing that was in the dumpster yesterday. Why 7 more of those?
Yeah.
Because it's
It's too much, right?
I mean, it's possible like that it wasn't that it was damaged.
Yeah.
Or in a way that wasn't like congruent with the others. Or,
Right. But to throw them
yeah.
away though.
Well, but that's the thing. Once they're it's like you don't get high on your own supply.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
So it's like you're not the one to be like, I'm gonna take that.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I would say nobody we were working with was ever like, ooh, can I have that? Honestly, like my time there, it was very like we were custodians of this show.
Yeah, right.
That was the attitude that we like. That was like the common, I guess, culture
Yeah.
that I always kind of felt because I've loved the show since I was born. I watched The Price is Right at my grandma or like my babysitter's house, but she was like a grandma.
Yeah.
And we would do Price is Right, Young and the Restless, Bold and the Beautiful, Pause for Lunch, Grilled Cheese, obviously.
God's trifecta.
Yep, and then Family Feud,
Oh.
Little House on the Prairie, Highway to Heaven, and then Jeopardy.
Wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Little House on the Prairie, and then Highway to Heaven. So it's like a double Michael Landon
Michael Landon.
1-2
Miracle.
punch. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
And then Jeopardy, and then if Wheel of Fortune came on, that meant we're staying for dinner. But I got all my game shows in. Like,
But Jeopardy did come before Wheel of Fortune, right?
Yeah.
As it should.
so we're like, yeah. If you hear the music, we're like, okay, cool. It's like we're staying for dinner.
Nice. So you mentioned last we met that you and the staff got to pick some of the prizes that were on the show, right?
Well, that's what we do. The prize
right,
department. Yeah,
right.
we pick prizes. Yeah.
Right. So a question.
Yeah.
What is the coolest thing that you suggested that you were perhaps not really thinking they would put on the show, but they ended up putting on the show?
Oh man, I mean, like I was really proud of my bacon showcase that got on the air. That was a
Bacon
triumph.
showcase.
It was like, yeah, it was bacon themed. I love bacon.
Do you remember the
That's
prizes?
yeah, one of them was like a hog, obviously. And something, it was like, I gotta really remember now. Anyway,
Was it one of these? No.
Shit, missed opportunity.
Next time.
I guess I did like a Kohler bathroom. I did a big promoted dream bathroom with Kohler. And
Okay.
that was like, $30,000
Wow.
prize, thing like that, and installation. And it was on cliffhangers. And so because it was promoted, it's like, yeah, let's put it in an easy game.
Oh, right.
Well,
So so that's kind of the deal, is that if it's a promoted item, you want to you want to have it won more.
'cause it doesn't cost you anything.
Right. So if no one wins a promoted prize, do you keep it on the show? It just kind of sustains itself until it's won, or what happens to it?
You do these, trade out agreements of per, wins, right?
Yeah.
Based on the MSRP is this much exposure and logo and airtime and script, and for 3 wins over 1 season or something.
And if it's never given away, it just gets.
They love that, Then it's like, hooray,
they get it back. Right.
We just got a free promotion,
Yeah. Right.
And then we would either send it back to the partner, or they would ask us to donate it to charity. But the promoted prizes were never given to staff.
No,
because
right.
it was like, the agreement or whatever there. But it was so nice when we got to, like, for the baby shower show, give like 20 nice strollers to Baby List, and
cool.
and these charities that these are, when you do an audience giveaway, you get 320 $100 or more prizes. That's the deal, and that's like. And so the people that do this for a living are very good at their. I mean, and the funny thing is, being like on the, not in entertainment of it all, I'm like, oh, that it feels slower than TV, because the deals they're making with huge companies, that's happening like that. These are not like Q3. This is like next week.
Yeah, right.
And like the pace
real
at
time.
which they're used to doing deals that people have their business affairs take care of. It's like we as trade out producers were like, it was insane, the amount of, like, the scope of the work that we were doing at times. Anyway, bonkers that. But yeah, I loved. I really loved things that were, like, I loved new tech. I loved exciting excursions. And I liked I don't know. I always loved picking out prizes and pitching prizes at showcase, writing meetings and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's cool. How many people were involved in writing the showcase bits and little skits?
Well, at one point, like, almost all of us were. When we became production employees, then they were like, if you have any ideas, throw them our way. And then it was like, all right, everybody has to come up with 3 ideas. And then it was like a mandate, and then everybody hated it, obviously. and the best showcase pitch is from my friend Corey Large, and she didn't want to do them, and it was like she was doing accounting. She was not interested in doing showcase pitches. She was like, "Can I just work, please?"
Because it requires some creativity and
she's
right?
very creative, but she's like, "Just let me work so I can go."
So what did she come up with?
Yeah, so she pitched a Chernobyl showcase. It was like just chef's kiss, and I.
Did it make it on?
It did not.
A trip to Pripyat, round trip.
One way.
Chernobyl. Yeah. Wait, what were the gift ideas that she had for that? like
radiation gear.
Yeah. How different was the procedure for handling or delivering one-of-a-kind prizes, like refurbished old cars, for example? Well,
I didn't have to fulfill any antique cars when I was there, except maybe one time, I feel like. I remember getting all the pricing. I remember, like, getting we were doing like a decades show or something. And so, typically I would, verify the MSRP with the Monroney sticker, and then the website, the actual manufacturer's website, and then the deal. And then I liked the dealer website as well. I liked all the proof, because I was really proud of the fact that, like, there was always proof. Right. You have to, because it's a big deal. If you mess that up, you owe somebody a car.
Wow.
Like, that's.
So you got a paper trail, an audit trail of all of the exact price
everything.
Now, see, what I wish as a viewer would be, and I guess they wouldn't want to do this just to stop people from memorizing everything, but when you're watching a showcase and you see motorcycles and then a trip to Thailand, it's like, so there was just one a few days ago. It was like $38,000, and I was like, how like what's the breakdown? Because I'm curious, like which one made that so high?
Right.
But were you there during the Ted Slauson, Terry Knies exact bid?
No, that was like, yeah, I got there in 2014.
When you got there, did they sit you down and tell you the story and kind of and cautionary tales and what? No, okay, so but that was just like lore that you've heard of when you got there.
I mean, yeah, because like I worked at The Price is Right live for 5 years before that,
right.
and so I was. I loved the show way before.
Yeah. But as far as like on the production side,
I mean, the main thing when I started at the TV show, it was with promotional placement and awards with CBS Entertainment. So it was like that. That was like this is the protocol. This is why it matters.
Right.
This is what the FCC has to do.
Yeah.
This is where the standards that have to be met. This is why standards and practices is here. This is why this script has to be approved. And like all of these, big deals and the fines that you would, get if you did it wrong, and the implications of, losing your job and yeah. So I mean, yeah, they scare the shit out of you like as soon as
get this right.
There.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
But more than anything though, like I always felt like everybody respected the show and like respected what it meant. Because literally the show is called The Price is Right.
Right. It has to be right.
Like that is like it's a pretty big clean out the gate of like
that's true.
You gotta kind of have the price right. So that was while like working in the prize department. It's like ooh prizes yay. It's like it was a lot of work, and it was a lot of like kind of when things get switched all of a sudden. And now you've got to either find something that day, you know, and verify it and get this approval and get that, and then you're the one holding it up, but you're waiting on 6 other things,
Right.
But, also exciting. Now I know I'm like, oh, obviously I have ADHD. This was the most dopamine heavy job, I could have ever worked at.
It is a perfect fit, it seems, for contestants.
Yeah.
So has there ever been a time where so I guess it was Mike Richards was the producer at the time, right?
He was my EP from 20 when he was there much longer, but I got there in 2014, and then he left in 2019
and
for
then
Wheel of Fortune and
then Evelyn Jeopardy, right? Then Evelyn took over.
Yeah.
So has there ever been a time for, say, like for example, Lucky 7, when they're like, okay, we need a little more of an evil price because we're in budget mode. We need a car that ends in like a 1. Or did they ever try to come like request that so you could then you have to add like leather seats? What'd you say?
I mean, yeah, you have to. That's Chris Donnan. That's his genius.
Right. Okay.
Like is making that all work.
But you as the director of fulfillment. You have the ability to custom kind of tweak a car price based on the options, right? You had like a list of was that kind of fun?
Yeah.
Too.
Well, and like it was such a wild thing because of the way the price department was structured with CBS. Stan, a production employee, would determine what he wanted that that price to look like, what options, what that is.
Yeah.
And CBS would have to go and do that. it's like in Galaxy Quest where she's like, only she can talk to the computer.
Right.
What? And so because that was like an editorial thing, of like what you want in the show.
Yeah.
And so then when we all became production employees, then Stan would program it. I would pick out the car, find the car, And that was wild because we had like 30 cars on the lot at any given time. That was like my max. David Macias is like a puppet master of all the cars that he has to move around.
It's like a valet box of keys, and he just kind of
truly it is. It's like so, and like I was really proud of the way we were able to kind of streamline stuff. Because when we started with CBS, they would send a flatbed truck to go pick up these cars and bring them across town, and that's like $75 each way like bare minimum, right? And if they had to wait for it, then it's like an hour. And so it was like we were playing, paying Gerard and Peterson thousands and thousands. And I was like, how about we just like send our, like have them drive it, and then we'll just get a lift for them back to their dealership, and then that's $15.
There you go.
And then it's just there, we'll just do that. But I mean, it was like, okay, but we have 7 cars from, Selman Chevrolet right now, and they need this one back, but it's in the show tomorrow. So now we have to, just this rotation all the time, and then, oh, okay, well, this is now a red car, so this also has to change. But we have a red car in the show tomorrow that airs, but we've taped that already. So we can't change the, because nothing's in order.
Is the color of the car by request of the producer? Like he's like, we need a red car for this game.
Hard rules.
Oh.
You can't have 2 red cars in the same show, or,
Really?
the silver looks too much like charcoal, and it got harder because, as you have seen over the years, like we have fewer makes of car.
Right.
And all the base models are black, white, gray, silver, blue.
Okay.
That's like what you see everywhere now.
Right.
Now it's like, oh, it's a red car. That used to be normal,
Yeah.
Car was normal.
That's how you find your car in the parking lot, is that it's red.
Yeah. And Stan and I would be like, oh, great, we lost, it was like Mercury, or like all these things that went away. The Scion went away, and then we lost that brand. It's like you're trying to squeeze 4 or 5 cars in a show and not have them look the same as it did on yesterday's air date that you may not tape yet or already have taped.
Really? And you can't have 2 red cars in a show. That's interesting.
I mean, that was like, those little rules.
You're right. Is that something that like
okay.
some whiny viewer would complain about or pick up on and be like, hey, is that why like you're trying to avoid that type of thing?
We look at things like that, sure. Yeah. That was well, it was cute though. Like Mike Richards had a car rule that was funny. That was because I wanted to do 2 smart cars in a showcase. Aw, it's so cute.
Yeah.
And he's like, a smart
little ones. Yeah.
He said, they're neither.
They're neither. So about trips.
Oh yeah.
So of course the copy is always from LA. I imagine if you live in say Key West, they fly you out from your nearest airport, and you're not on the hook for the excess, right? I mean, it's
right. Yeah. Which was a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that so? Did you have to arrange that at all? Did you have to be the one getting on the phone, or work in the airline to accommodate?
Yeah. So when we started, they were working with like BCD Travel Agency.
Okay.
And this is CBS, so like think paper, everything.
Right. Travel agents.
Yeah. So at the end of the show, they would just like hand them a travel preference form and be like, handwrite it and mail it back into us, and then we'll mail it to the travel agent. And I was like, but they would. It was such a big deal to fly them from their home airport, like. I don't know. And to me, it was like, this is going to be almost always cheaper to fly them from their home airport.
Yeah.
And so I'm always just looking for the way to make it work. And I don't really like, because we have, or I don't know, it's a lot of work. Like I hear that and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Especially something I want. But like, I loved to be able to, fly somebody from, Minneapolis to go to Bali.
Yeah, totally. Did anyone ever send postcards from their trip to the show?
All the time.
Really?
All the time. We got
That's
pictures,
cool.
and that was my favorite part. Was like our fulfillment group. The contestant
coordinators.
We get pictures after, because we've been talking to these people for a year sometimes about.
Oh, really? Trying to arrange it?
Maybe these trips with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, we worked it out. When I had left, it was great because in the room I would explain a lot about their trip and like really front load them with info of like, you've got a year from your air date to take the trip. You're going to fly from whatever airport if you want to do. And I always just left it open of like, if it's within this, budget and you want to extend your trip and do other things, perfect. We've already figured out our portion. Like you can travel agent and,
So if someone wanted to bring like 2 of their kids, this is only a trip for 2. Like they'll work with them, but they have to pay like
what theirs was, and they could.
Well, here's what my fear would be. So our little group we were watching a show together online. So it's common. It's pretty funny. It's like Mystery Science Theater 3000. We're all just kind of like making fun of everything. Yeah, it's so great. But there was a trip to Chicago. And it was $7,800. I mean, trips are never for like if I were to book a trip to Chicago right now, I can go there the fare would be $120, and I can probably get a nice hotel for $150 or $200. I don't have have some pizza and then get the hell out of there. And I might get it all done under $1,000, right? But these are $7,800 for a trip to Chicago. How does that happen?
Yeah, I mean, so they only work with 4-star hotels or more,
right?
And so that's going to be the rack rate of or like a typical night, not a rack rate because that's kind of like the max, but like a typical night of what that week looked like, and they then that's what the hotel has. We have now agreed that's the MSRP, that's the proof, that's what that is, and then the airfare, like the fully refundable fare.
Oh, okay. I see.
Fare
not the discount.
And it's based on class, like the like Y class, A class, these like
Interesting.
I can't think of numbers or words right now.
Yeah. No, but why make that's like the standard but non-refund, right? When they have those around the world trips where they chain them together, you now go to Aruba, and then from Aruba you go to Frankfurt, and then from Frankfurt you go to Thailand. Is that required that it's taken in that order as they say it, or can you kind of work with them on that?
I fulfilled a couple of those with Ashley, who's still there and is one of the best people in the world. She was like, just my work family,
Yeah.
Good Kansas girl, Wisconsin girl, California girl. She's everything. She's your girl next door.
What's her name?
Ashley Zastro.
Okay.
Yeah. Great. And so I mean, we had some contestants had their own spreadsheet. Like they were like, okay, here's their 5 trips that they won that they have to take within a year of their air date.
Right.
Like one is Cape Cod, one is Jamaica, the other is Paris, and then there's Tanzania. Like all these things. And it was kind of fun, honestly, because one of them, her name was Kelly Beebe. I remember
the contestant.
Yeah, so sweet. And, I was like, I really want to make this work. I'm like, I do too. Like, let's make this. And it was like, of course you get 2 like high achieving women together. And then you go, all right, guys, we're going to make this woman go to 5 trips in 1 year. Go. And she did. And she'd send us the picture. And it was just like, how fun, how cool. Yeah. But it was like, we let her do a round trip if it was like still within the budget of what that was supposed to be. And so.
That's cool. Did you happen to watch the 10,000th episode that just aired?
No, okay. I didn't.
So, I flew out for it. That's right. Yeah. I mean, I kind of felt I had to, but one of the winners was from like a group that was attached to my people. So this guy I was talking to, Brandon, was the one person that won. So everybody won either a vehicle or a cash, or so now they if you're from out of state, they allow you to take the cash value of a car.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, was that not a thing when you were there?
I wouldn't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So like, if you won a car but you're not from California, you now have an option to take the cash value of it. Brandon, he on Cliffhangers, he won a trip for 10.
That's great.
To Whistler.
Those are fun.
10 people.
A couple of those.
Yeah. Right. Trip for 10. Are those nightmares to deal with? Because people calling you like random.
Oh my God, that's where you're like super happy you have a travel agent.
Right, they handle all that. I can only speak on my own personal game show appearances in 2005 on Lingo. When I won, they just set me free.
7%.
Well, they didn't take anything.
No.
Yeah, they sent me the check in full. It was on me to report it to California if I so chose, but also on my federal tax site, they report it to the IRS. Okay, but now the Price is Right. I think they must have gotten pressure from the state of California, like, hey, assholes, people are not like they're not paying us their obligations. So the Price is Right will not release you anything until you pay the state of California what they want first, right? What they're owed. Okay, right. And was that the case when you were there?
Yeah. So you'd pay if you're out of state. You'd have to pay 7%.
7%
of the total winning or whatever. If they won, let's say they won, $10,000 cash, a $30,000 car, and a $20,000 trip or something like that.
Yeah.
So we would say, like, do you want us to take
that out of the cash?
The cash, and then we'll just release you from taxable and give you the difference. And that was typically like, we'll do that.
Yeah.
And then they would have like 90 days from their air date to 90 days, something like 120 days maybe.
Yeah, sounds right.
I would let that slide.
Oh, really?
I really would, because it was like nobody counted on that.
Yeah.
Happening. But truly, like, I mean, of the 1,900 contestants or something, there were only like 5 maybe at the very end that were like, okay, it's been a year.
Yeah, it's been a year.
And sometimes they're just like, I don't really want the billiard table. I'll forfeit.
Right.
That was a commonly forfeited item, was the billiard tables and spas were tough because if you've got a studio apartment.
I had always thought that the most refused items would be like the boats. And
I had a couple forfeitures for boats. I once had my interns make a compilation video for me of what I termed boat face, which is when a contestant thinks that a car is happening and they're excited, and then they go, and they go.
Yeah. It's funny. So I noticed that too. But then on the rare occasion, some people lose their shit when it's a boat. And I'm just like,
it's so fun when they're the ones who win the sailboat, and you're like, thank God.
Yeah. And sometimes, and that's what's weird about boats is that sometimes they're the shit showcase where it's like the 20,000. Sometimes, I guess it's like the pontoon party boat. Those things are like $40,000 or something.
Oh yeah,
and so
you get that party boat.
Yeah.
I opened the Price is Right light in Branson, and Missouri is like Bass Pro Central. I was there for 8 weeks in Branson, setting that show up, and then I returned like the following summer, and Jerry Springer came out to host for like a month, and he loved it there. He's like, these are my
That's his people. Yeah.
These are my people. He was the nicest guy.
Did fights break out on the show at all? Or were there paternity test reveals as well as
crowds? But like, he was just, the most like self-deprecating like guy, just the nicest, and every day he got up there and he goes, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know why they let me do this.
That's funny.
I'm like, because we love you.
Wow. How long ago was that?
Oh, geez, 2012. Yeah,
wow.
2013. Yeah.
Old times. That's cool. Branson, Missouri. Look at that. So you bring that up because everybody.
I guess Ned Flanders built, right?
Yeah, right. But when someone would win a boat, would they just like, all right, like that was like a big deal?
Oh yeah, they were pumped about that. So yeah, I borrowed a boat from Bass Pro. I was always borrowing people's cars and boats, and it was just a lot of me going into somewhere and going, hi, I work for a game show and we're doing this thing, and that would kind of pique their interest and then be like, no, really?
Yeah.
Here? Be like, okay, wait, we'll buy it from you. They'll pay the sales tax, and that's kind of how that works.
Is there an actual printed rule book for the games? Like, for example, if I were playing hole-in-one or two, could I could I take the putter and shoot the ball like a billiards cue? Like, is it written? Because there are implied things.
No, I'm sure that's written somewhere.
There's have you seen like a phone book sized rule book of like?
Because when you work there, you want to know what all the games are, because you need to know what prize, why it matters that, this cliffhangers has to fit on a podium. It can't be a a huge TV or something, things like that. Where you're like, well, you got to know what you're doing. So yeah, it's just like the prize binder of like 75-ish games.
Wow.
And this is how they work, and this is what you win, and these,
Talk about an eBay item, the prize binder.
Yeah, right. I have, when I left Fremantle, I printed out my blueprint of the Plinko game, and so I have that.
Like the construction blueprints of it. Wow,
yeah,
that's
like
cool.
A little CBS thing in the corner. And,
now that could be framed, and someone would want copies of that. Like, you know.
Oh yeah, yep, totally. Yeah.
How often did prizes get reused because of being turned away by contestants? Is that how that works?
Oh yeah, like if they forfeited the prize or something.
Yeah.
I mean, like you use the prize 5 or 6 times a season, like
right.
You know, and we'd fulfill like 6,500 prizes a season.
Was there anything relatively common in the way of specific prizes that would not get? You said a billiard table. Are there other ones that are just like the soda machine, the popcorn machine?
Like my husband, we actually have the CBS fire sale vending machine from Frasier.
Do you really?
In our garage.
Wow.
The radio station.
That's cool.
Anyway, that's forfeited. You know, stuff that was like.
Wait, that was on the show. You mean? Yeah,
that was on Frasier. Yeah.
Oh, but it wasn't a prize on The Price is Right, though.
No.
Okay.
That we do indeed.
That's an NBC show. How dare you?
Yeah, they taped it at CBS.
Did they?
Radford. So.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you have? Do you have stuff in the vending machine? Do you use it like as a refrigerator?
During COVID, I set it all up, and that was like our snack station.
But you had to pay to get the stuff out.
Yeah. So you gotta pay. So no, it's cute.
Honey, can you grab me a B7 and a C4?
I need some of that C4 right now. Exactly. Well, thank you. It's been fun to talk about parties. It was a really special time, and it's one of those like, did that actually happen? Was that my life? Was that real?
It was your life.
and it's nice because I'm still in touch with like a lot of folks from there. So
yeah. That's cool. That's good to hear because that makes it. Yeah, just sitting there because I went to a Bob taping in 2002, and going to a Drew taping. You see all the shit online about like there's all this kind of like loyalists that are bitter and they want, it's almost like they want Drew to fail, or they just shit on everything that Drew does. Sitting there.
Oh, you just love him, right?
I cannot. 17 years he's been doing this already, right? And I'm indifferent about Drew Carey just as an entertainer. Before this, I didn't really watch the show, so I didn't really know too much about it except just his stand-up stuff. Watching him at the show, 17 years in now, he's still having all these jokes with George, and during little down times. I mean, he's having the best time telling jokes, and they're all different. It's not like the same thing he does.
He doesn't need this job.
Yeah, right. But he's clearly enjoying it, and it's not.
I just want to tell one quick story.
Please.
He threw us a show. That was our wrap party. That was the last day of taping of season 45, I want to say.
All right.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So we all got down to, and only 5 producers knew. And then they didn't tell me because they wanted me to have fun.
Wait, so you were sitting in the audience?
Yeah, so we all went, and we were having just like a quick meeting or something, and then a party on stage, and so then they called everybody down, and people got to like actually play
games. Did you get to win the prizes?
Oh yeah, and so I mean, I got to buy my coworkers. I mean, I bought like 3 cars. I got to fly them to Costa Rica. Somebody got thousands of dollars.
And this never aired.
And Drew was just, he wanted to do that, and yeah, it was like, oh my gosh.
That was on his dime, like all the stuff.
Like I want to say like a quarter of it was on Fremantle, and then he was like, no, I want to really do this.
Wow. Did this air?
Fremantle was like, what?
Did this ever air?
No.
Oh, right. No. This is just all just
but it is taped, yeah, which is funny. And there's an amazing screenshot. I'll just give it. Gina, is up there. She's made it to contestants row, and Drew is like, I just want to take a moment and let's just give Gina a hand, who has been here for, we're all just like, we love Gina so much, and like she's like our like heart and soul, and and we're all clapping for Gina, and then everybody starts bidding, and then Gina goes 1,200, and then Jennifer next to her goes 1,201. All of us like work together like. And it's the best. And so yeah, Jazz, who is like AD right now or something there, Eckenberg, sent me a screenshot, and it's just me. And I think I had like Botox like earlier that week, and my forehead is very frozen. And I'm like, and so she's like, anytime she goes, I need you to know you're an internal GIF. And I'm like, I'm so honored. Thank you so much.
This is before memes, but
I would be. Exactly.
yeah, that's funny.
The last recurring story, really quick,
Please.
was my final season, or no, second to final season, I guess. But he flew Joan Jett out and her band to LA and gave us a concert in Hollywood. Like, we rented a nightclub out, and we got a +1, and it was like catered, like
Wow.
sushi, prime rib, like amazing. And then she did a concert.
On Drew Carey.
I got to meet Pee Wee Herman.
Ah.
Like, it was. I mean.
You must have pictures, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Best
sweet.
Oh my gosh.
You gotta send this to me.
Fun. Yeah, I was like outside, getting fresh air with my friend Megan, and my assistant Michael comes running to me, and he's like, Lauren, Pee Wee, Pee Wee Herman, Pee Wee Herman? Is Pee Wee Herman here? Is that what you're saying? And he's like, oh my God. He's like, gonna come. And they were like, he doesn't do pictures. He doesn't actually even meet anyone, but like come and.
Oh, he was as himself, not as Pee Wee. He wasn't in the bow tie. No. He was just like Paul Rubens, just kind of hanging out somewhere.
Yeah, because he's like friends with Drew. It was like all Drew's.
Oh, he came to this thing.
Yeah, it was, and because it's just this like party,
Yeah.
And we got to show him pictures of Jack when he was Pee Wee Herman for Halloween for like 3 years in a row. And like just like we're such big Pee Wee fans, and so it was like Drew is just he just is the most generous like person. He's generous of his time and his energy and his money, and like just just
you saw what he did during the strike, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
yeah, and that didn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
I mean, he $1,000 tips.
Yeah.
He's that guy. Like, he's just the nicest. So anytime I got discouraged about work, I would just be like, I work for Drew.
Yeah, that's cool.
No, Drew's not my boss. I work for Drew. This because he loves the show too.
Yeah, it's clear.
It's it's so special, and it is really like, it's a hard thing to like take over a nostalgic, franchise.
Yeah, he had huge shoes to fill, and he was worried about it too. But I mean, really, I think his legacy is safe. Bob is a different era. I mean, really, it is his show now, and he really commands it the way it should be. He's having so much fun, and that's what that show deserves. Is just like the fun whimsy of a host like that. I mean, and he's a perfect pick for that.
And he's a private person. He keeps to himself. He does the jumble between games, but
right.
That's his thing. And I think like my dad is kind of like that too. And so I think it's because Drew and I have maybe said 20 things to each other ever,
right.
like it just, we didn't, have to do things. I never had to give him things.
Right.
And I didn't need anything from him. So George, I got, he was my host on live shows and stuff. So we talked together and stuff. But, it was like, I don't know. He's a good soul.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Hey, can you just real quick give me like a 30-second just a blurb on what Harvest Pack is?
So Harvest Pack is a humanitarian hunger relief nonprofit, and we're based in St. Paul. We've been around since 2012, and we mobilize meal packaging volunteer events to businesses and schools and churches and community groups. So we bring an oatmeal assembly line to, Charles Schwab, and they pack oatmeal, and it gets to stay in the neighborhood. So the local food shelf comes then to pick up all the food they just packed. And so they're getting 20,000 meals, over 2 hours of, 50 people working together.
Yeah,
so
cool.
That's what I do now. And, it's fun to just show people how easy it is to volunteer.
Yeah.
And truly all the volunteering I did was always through a company that made it easy for it to happen. And so I really like being able to kind of bring that back to workplace culture and get people, having fun, doing something different, and then saying, hey, and we got to do this for our neighbors. So
yeah,
hooray.
Is this localized to Minnesota, or is this a nationwide type?
Everywhere, yeah. So I have another event in Orange County, April 10th.
So you travel for this?
Yeah. So I've gone back to LA like 5 times last year.
All right.
You know, I did one at Fremantle, and Original Productions. So
Did you?
they packed 20,000 meals for the Interfaith Food Shelf in North Hollywood.
All right.
Yeah.
But it's based in St. Paul.
Yeah, based here.
Okay.
And I just go to the office once a week, and
All right.
I meet my work fam, and and then we do these events. So harvestpack.org is
harvestpack.org.
If they want to make a donation, do it on our Venmo or PayPal, and do it in increments of $1.
$1. All right.
And then they could outbid each other. And it could go one.
All right.
Two,
All right.
4.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh my gosh, this is a blast.
Great to see you.
On an upcoming episode of Game Show Forensics, scandalous accusations of a scandal reach scandalous proportions.
It was not a fucking scandal.
Was this man a cheater, or is he one of the most legendary game show heroes of all time? Things get technical as we explore the facts behind the stupidest fucking blunder in network television history. And special guest, game show announcing luminary, Rich Fields. Right here on Game Show Forensics.